Russia's struggles in the war with Ukraine are intensifying as troops continue to find themselves pushed back out of key territories. Vladimir Putin's crumbling Russian army is facing a decisive rout, and is edging closer to total collapse, with morale among troops now completely evaporated, according to a leading British Army officer. General Sir Richard Shirreff, who served as Deputy Supreme Allied Commander Europe for the alliance, also believes Ukrainian forces can succeed in driving back the opposition by the end of this year. He told UK News, "I think the scene is being set for a decisive rout of the Russian army in Ukraine. The scene is setting for a collapse of the Russian army. This could be an avalanche, and we are now seeing the cracks in the snow. The Ukrainians are creating more problems than the Russians are capable of solving. It's looking good." Successes enjoyed by Ukraine have been compounded by Russian failures, with Putin's military leaving his troops horrendously under-equipped. Putin has also reportedly been making uninformed decisions at the top of the Kremlin about the war with Ukraine, and speculation has been swirling he is becoming increasingly isolated in Moscow. Sir Richard explained, "The Russian morale has gone. You've got soldiers who simply don't want to fight. These guys were told they would be welcomed with open arms by cheering crowds and the so-called Ukrainian Nazis would collapse. But they were met by a ferocious resistance. They are in a country that doesn't want them there. Why should they die for Putin's adventure?" Conceptually, the Russians do not understand combined arms warfare, they haven't trained properly, physically they haven't got the right kit, and what they do have is rubbish, and morally they are completely bankrupt. He hailed the Ukrainian counter-offensive masterclass that has pushed Putin's troops back in the east and south of the country, adding the fight back is maintaining the momentum. The Russian president is desperately trying to turn the tide and is reportedly massing troops in Belarus, which neighbors Ukraine and whose dictator Alexander Lukashenko is one of his closest allies. Ukrainian troops have responded and have been seen moving to reinforce the border amid fears Putin could use his ally Belarus to launch nuclear strikes. But Sir Richard believes it is entirely feasible that Ukrainian forces can successfully push Russian forces back before the end of this year. He said, "The Russians are like the boxer trapped in the corner of the ring against a very agile opponent who punches one side and then punches the other. The Ukrainians pushing the Russians back to the February 23 line, the day before the war started, by the end of 2022 I think is entirely feasible." However, Sir Richard also warned the potential threats from Russia, including the possible use of nuclear weapons, remains, and is urging Western powers to maintain the pressure on Putin. He continued, "We should take that nuclear threat very seriously, but we should not in any way blink, and I am pretty encouraged by the response of the West," he said. "But if we are promising massive retaliation in some way or other, you have to prepare for the worst case, and the worst case is being at war with Russia.